Alright, hey guys, today for the final segment of this series, for now, this is, there will be more videos eventually when I, get more motivation and interested on making more specific of these topics, but as far as the important topics, this will be the last one that I'm putting out for now. I wanted to get, this finalized before the war season starts. I have another big project that I'm going to be announcing shortly, just getting a few things finalized. But yeah, let's get into it. So this final thing is improving your deck. Now this is going to take into account pretty much all of the previous BG's Fundamentals videos, and is a bit of a conclusion for what this is all leading up to. So first off, masteries for improving your deck. This is the most direct and cheapest way to improve your deck. Getting masteries that are better for the champions in your deck will of course just be a direct, very measurable improvement, and is a very simple way to improve your deck, but it's very effective. Masteries can make a pretty huge difference towards improving your deck, of course. And for playstyle, learning how to maximize all of these nukes in your deck is of course going to be one of the most important things, learning the AI control, because at the end of the day, your deck is a tool, and learning how to best use that tool is going to be the most essential thing. And this also takes into account learning a lot of the more high skill nukes, like Omega and Tigra. Learning champions like this can give you a massive edge for improving your deck. And yeah, now for ban strategy and using bans to improve your deck. I talked about this a lot in the ban video, but using bans to improve your deck is one of the most effective ways you can of making improvements. Either banning the attackers that cause problem and leaning into that more niche, both with attackers that fill that niche well and defenders that fill that niche well with your bans, can be very effective, or banning defenders to let you nuke more. This is an extremely effective way of improving your deck. Getting specific bans that are built to improve your deck rather than generally strong bans. This is just going to make such a massive difference for your deck. And yeah, for the previous defense and offensive videos, these give the building blocks of what makes good champions for your decks, but of course does not tell the full story. And yeah, let's get into it. Now, for the first and most important thing when considering making improvements for your deck is taking a look at the champions in your deck that are either never getting drafted or aren't winning you rounds. Of course, if your tool isn't being as effective as you need and you're not using them much, it can be important to just take these champions out of your deck. The difficult thing with this is measuring which one of these are, not getting used because they're affecting my opponent's drafting, and which are not getting used because they're unnecessary in your deck. So this is a very hard thing to measure, but with experience you will be able to, recognize whether a champion is actually necessary in your deck, and a lot of it will come with just testing out and seeing if you can get away with removing them from your deck, and making a lot of changes to your deck over the course of grinding VGs. You do not need to win every round, and experimenting with taking out champs of your deck that you think might be unnecessary and you could make improvements upon, even if it may not actually work out, will just help you find the unnecessary champs in your deck that can then be taken out to either get better stallers, more nukes, more specific counters that will help you out with where the weaknesses in your deck are. So, for my own deck, I've been noticing that I hadn't been using Nimrod very much, just to show an example, and, I took out Nimrod from my deck just to test, to see what it was like, and then a bunch of mutant defenders started getting drafted a lot more commonly instead of people being scared to draft them because of Nimrod. So using this as my example, it's a more obvious example, but using this as my example, this tells me that Nimrod, even though I'm not using him much, is a necessary part of my deck to make sure that issues do not arise from people drafting more into stuff that would make me need Nimrod more. So having someone like him that can just prevent your opponent from drafting all these types of champions, even if you're not using him that much, is still going to help your deck out a lot. But then for another example, I had Storm in my deck. And with Storm, I was not using her much at all. I had been having, minimal success with her due to, needing the crits and good RNG. But I was worried if I took her out of my deck that a lot of skilled defenders would start giving me more issues. And they would get drafted more. So I took her out of my deck, and I just started playing matches without Storm in my deck. And I noticed these skilled defenders were still not getting drafted much, because Omega and Sunspot were occupying that niche well enough to make my opponents not think they would need to draft these skilled defenders as commonly, and that showed me that Storm was unnecessary for my deck. Now this is a very individual thing and will really depend on your own deck and your own needs, but just taking this principle of experimenting with removing champions from your deck and seeing how things go with those changes can help you find what might be unnecessary in your deck and what you might be able to take out to then put in a better nuke or a better staller that maybe doesn't occupy that same niche, and that can let you get more one-sided decks like this, where you have very, very heavy in one niche that's a very, very strong niche, from finding out the unnecessary parts of your deck to allow you to just fill your deck with a bunch of stalls and nukes that, even though they might not answer problems, can just in general help so much. And that's all for this video. Fairly simple principle, but I think it's important to keep in mind and can make a pretty big difference for how you perform in BGs. And take care, guys.